2 years ago, in the event that I mentioned a minute ago, Luis Miranda, a 17-year-old boy from Chile, asked all the adults seated at the table to not take decisions for children without consulting children. Nothing for us without us, were his words. A message that echoes in our minds in every action that we conduct or promote. And now we'll hear from two young advocates about their experience with the SDGs, as well as their participation in monitoring processes. The first speaker is Ashley Lashley, 22 years, she's 22 years old, she's from Barbados, and she's a youth UNICEF advocate. Her work has a wide focus on social development issues, particularly as it relates to health, the environment, children, and women's rights. Ashley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Miguel, Executive Director, His and Her Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is my distinct pleasure to be here amongst you to share my message on the importance of investing in children and young people. My work in health has focused on non-communicable diseases, children's rights, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the environment. I believe a nation's greatest wealth is its health, and one of the greatest existing threats to world health is the enormous prevalence of non-communicable diseases. In my country, Barbados, it is estimated that by the year 2030, 86.3% of all deaths will be due to non-communicable diseases. These shocking statistics immediately grasped my attention and propelled me to establish an organization entitled the Schools Against Non-Communicable Diseases, because I believe that our children, my generation, are our country's future. This COVID-19 pandemic has suspended the lives of children and their families and exposed the vulnerabilities of developing countries around the world. Progress made has gone backwards, in particular for the most vulnerable and marginalized communities. What I have witnessed firsthand through my advocacy work in my island, Barbados, is that our children's educational development is severely compromised. A further threat to our children's education is due to the many environmental challenges that we are facing, including hurricanes, dengue fever, Saharan dust, and now the coronavirus. However, we young people continue to take actions as agents of change and to be part of the solutions to recover for a more sustainable, fairer, and greener future for us. So to mitigate against these unplanned and catastrophic health and environmental events, during the pandemic, I started the Global HEY campaign, which stands for Healthy and Environmentally Friendly Youth. It started in the Caribbean, but now has a global reach with youth between the ages of 9 and 27 years old, all taking proactive measures to advocate for more healthy and environmentally friendly societies. And this is why governments need to invest in policies that prioritize and bring the welfare of children and young people at the forefront of their recovery agenda. This COVID-19 pandemic has impacted very negatively on small island developing states' economies. Governments should strengthen critical social spending, be better prepared for future pandemics and epidemics, and strengthen the social protection safety net that puts our children and persons living with disabilities at the forefront. It is crucial that children and young people be included in the governance and participatory processes that gives us the right to determine our own destiny. We must be given the opportunity to sit on boards and make meaningful decisions that affect our lives. You must take our views into consideration when developing your policies that you implement today, which will have a lasting effect on the lives of our children for tomorrow. In addition, it is my opinion that there are too many poor countries whose people's health, in particular for the most vulnerable children, remain at risk. And if these issues are left unchecked, we will incur the risk of another global pandemic of mammoth proportions. There are serious financial and social economic imbalances that have undermined the health of our children worldwide. We need debt relief to developing countries hit by the pandemic so that social spending and children's rights are preserved. I am confident that if this happens, we will see an improvement in child health care. Countries will be able to buy vaccines. Countries will be able to buy more ventilators. And you will see an improvement in the reduction of and treatment in the spread of this pandemic and all other forms of communicable and non-communicable diseases. To this end, I am also pleading for the protection of aid budgets to help countries recover from the pandemic and get back on track to meet the 2030 agenda. If developing countries do not get the adequate funding, how can they sustain serious health and educational programs for their nation's children? We are not begging because we are not beggars, but this is an inalienable right as enshrined in the moral constitution of planet Earth, where all men and women are created equal. Let me end with a quote from the former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan, who said, if globalization is to succeed, it must succeed for the poor and rich alike. It must deliver rights no less than the richest. It must provide social justice and equity no less than economic prosperity and enhance communication. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley, for your strong words and for calling attention to the critical dimension of social disparities, in particular how financial and social economic imbalances have indeed undermined the health of children worldwide in recent months. Our next speaker is June. She is 17 years old. She's from Republic of Korea, but lives and studies currently in Abu Dhabi. Her focus is on child poverty, social protection issues, but she has a keen interest in VNR processes and children's inclusion during the COVID pandemic recovery phase. Good afternoon, June, to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you for your little introduction, Miguel. Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, my name is Jin from the Republic of Korea and currently in British International School under Nord Anglia Education. Today, I'm here to talk about child protection during the COVID-19 pandemic recovery phase. I am reaching out to you because we need your help. I am the representing voice of 142 million and more children living in poor households caused by pandemic. And without any governmental help, this number could reach 725 million in the absence of education, healthcare, sanitation, or water. The more I speak about child protection, the more I realize that it takes a village to raise a child. With the problems that have compounded over the global pandemic, support from community members has never been this crucial. During the COVID-19 recovery phase, child protection must be central and thoroughly discussed. Poverty has a domino effect. Poverty, poor housing, and lack of education are interconnected and put children in severe danger. The escalating numbers of child marriage cases and lack of access to sanitation endangers their right to survive and thrive as humans. This chain of poverty can only be stopped with external help. And together with 9 students from Nord Anglia education schools around the world, I launched a campaign called Soap for Hope. As members of the youth, we decided to do something to possibly help our communities and children during the COVID. Our campaign consists of collecting soap and money for disadvantaged children in social protection centers from each country. Washing hands using soap was the best and most inexpensive way to prevent infection, and we wanted to help with what we could. And what I have observed there was truly unforgettable. It left me speechless. I saw anger in the eyes of children for not being able to get the help they desperately needed. I witnessed hopelessness from them, dead eyes without a future. And I saw depression in their eyes for not being given an opportunity to properly start their lives. And when you witness this, you become speechless. No voice came out of me, but there was a voice in my head telling me, well, this is clearly not fair. And from that moment, after I was eye to eye with that children in social protection center, I decided to dedicate myself to solving this injustice. I had the privilege to be able to continue my education during the COVID-19 pandemic, have a stable place to live, have enough food and clothing in my house, and recently get vaccinated under the government protection policy for youth. And this experience should be shared among all children. They all deserve to have same parental care and must be protected. But we shouldn't just talk about it. We want to make sure that the social protection system are tangible and approachable to them. The destiny of children determines the destiny of our world, and we must do our best to bring children and young people at the forefront of the global agenda and ensure that the society provides protection, especially to the most vulnerable children. And that's why 7.7 billion people are counting on the children to further humans' legacy. And that's why we can have hope in our heart. To me, SDGs and UNICEF's goal mean a direction for the future. And if we don't protect them now, there will be no future without them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jin, for your powerful words and for reminding us the multidimensional effort that is needed to raise a child. And that happens everywhere. It takes indeed a village, as it takes the world to implement the SDGs.